My name's Martin Ursel, by the way, and I'm joint program leader of the BA illustration at Middlesex. I'm also program leader for the MA, which is an MA in children's books and graphic novels, but it's with my BA hat. I'm here today. I thought I would start by showing a short film which tells you a little bit about the BA illustration, and it's mainly where I'm on it, and my joint program leader Nancy Slonims is on it, but it's mainly the students talking. So I thought it would be nice to start with that because it's in their words, so they'll tell you a little bit about the course. So I'm going to show you that first.
Perhaps the first thing I could say about the course is that it's been very carefully designed so that each year feeds into the next year, and we're very conscious of trying to give students a really clear pathway through an introduction to an exploration of their way of making imagery. And what we're hoping is that the students will then graduate with a very strong personal language. We don't want any of the students to look like anybody else. The whole idea of the course and the 3 years is that each student develops their own personal language.
So when I came here in first year, I was happy drawing in my sketchbooks, and I wasn't that confident really about working in other mediums. And then when I came here, the tutors were really encouraging of experimenting and playing around with our work. So my work has developed loads over the 3 years.
Yeah, the course I think is quite unlike a lot of other illustration courses out there because it is quite a small intake, and on the upside, that means every student that comes here is guaranteed their own desk space, and combine that with the fact it's a full-time course means that everyone's working in the studio all the time, and you've got this kind of like great, buzzy, vibrant atmosphere, and all the students are sort of like working with each other as well. So you've got sort of like third years talking to first years and things like that.
There's a studio skills aspect to the course where we teach things like digital media, digital handling, printmaking, just general studio skills, all of those kind of things. As well as teaching that, we're really more interested in things like getting atmosphere into a picture, composition, color, these things that are harder to pin down. So I think really, we're not worried about whether somebody works in a digital way or a traditional way. That's kind of neither here nor there. What matters is that whichever way you work, we'll do our best to make sure that you're saying something worthwhile.
The course does allow us to do like animation, screen print, or anything really, but my personal favorite is probably screen print until we did animation and I found out I liked it. So animation is like you do After Effects, but there's also other ways that Paul teaches us about. He teaches us on After Effects to begin with. You can also do stop frame, whichever like fits your style. He's good because other people have won awards, even though we're an illustration course. He has taught people in animation, and obviously they've won awards in animation while studying illustration.
So the illustration course isn't just studio based. I mean, we have the illustration studio and you have your own desk and your own seat for 3 years, which is great. But you also have, so this is the printmaking workshop where we have screen print, etching. We have quite a large letterpress selection as well, which is a lot of places don't have. And also stone lithography, which a lot of courses and universities don't have access to, which we do have at Middlesex.
Well, I think that for my course, at least, illustration, if you are interested in creative expression through drawing, I would say that this school has a lot to offer, and it will improve your abilities because the teachers are able to see what you can do and how you can become as good as possible within that aim of yours. Yeah.
Every year we take a trip. We've been to New York, we've been to Edinburgh, we've been to Hungary in my time, and it's great because all 3 years go. The tutors go with you, and it's drawing for 4 days straight. And I think a big part of this course is just doing things together, which is like all the exhibits we do is all with like every year of the course. The tutors always exhibit with us as well, particularly the Poetry Cafe exhibit that we also do every year. We run a lot of live projects with real companies. Sometimes student works get displayed in other galleries, sometimes we enter competitions. And this course offers so many opportunities like that that get you real industry work, even from like first and second year.
Okay, good. Okay, so that's a short film there. So let me get rid of that. Okay, one of the things with the course is that we have a very diverse collection of work. So we don't really worry about you know, how students work, whether they're interested in this way of working or that way of working. We try and nurture each student in the way that they want. That's one of our things. So I am hopefully, if I can find it here, going to show you a collection of slides. This is going to take a while to come in. So let me just see if I can find these things. Okay, it's here. So there we go. So this is a collection of, well, I've got about, I think 30 slides here, something like that. So if I just wait for this first one to pop in, and then I can take you through this work. They're quite big files, some of these, so they take a little while to open. So let me just put that on full screen. Okay. So one of the reasons behind me showing this work is just so you can see the diversity of different things we do. Some of this work is third year, some of it is second year. I don't think we have any first year work here, but most of it's second or third. And hopefully it will give you an idea just to see the different kinds of things. So two kind of comic style pieces here, different students, of course. And both of these students wrote their own stories as well. So we're quite keen on that as well. We have a creative writing course at Middlesex, but one of the things with the illustration degree is we are all practicing illustrators. We all freelance and have done that for many, many years. So we all bring a different thing to the course. My own background is in children's books and comics and graphic novels. I've worked in that for over 30 years. So we're all quite able to help with the different aspects of the project. Nancy worked in advertising. Louise works in editorial. So we all bring a slightly different element to the course. So I'm just going to flick through these, whole variety of different things. So these are some fantastic, I can move these things out of the way here. So that's better. So these are fantastic set of posters here by a student we had called Anna Stubberfield, who is actually now doing the MA. Oh, hang on. There you go, actually. Some book jackets here. We do very well with competitions on the course, and that book jacket was the folio competition, a bit of reportage here, which we have been shortlisted for almost every single year. Some reportage here, a set of stamps, really nice those, I think, very nice. Second year student those, and some digital illustration there. From one of our graduates from last year, who's actually had a very successful year. That's this year, that's a current student who will graduate this in a couple of weeks' time. Another book jacket there, that's also a current student working now. Okay, that's from a year or two ago, I think 2 years ago, that one. And again, hopefully one of the things you can notice, that's a second year student, and that was from earlier last year. Hopefully one of the things, yeah, you can notice just how varied the work is. That's a silk screen there. Again, a very nice piece of work. That's from last year. An etching there. Okay, another one there. Just got to pop in that one. There we go. And yeah, there's a lino there. That was one of a series that went in a book. Another etching there with an aquatint on that. We have marvelous printmaking facilities at Middlesex, so it really is one of the things that the students enjoy. They all do a rotation in the print studios in the first year, and then once we get into the second and third year, if they've particularly been interested in that, they can follow that. If they haven't liked it, then they're free never to go in there again. It's up to them. Again, this is from something, we have a Riso machine, and both of these pieces are on the Riso. I have to say, this is a current student, a mature student who we have on the degree at the moment, called Lorraine Ansell, and these are Risos of a set of playing cards she did for crime writers and their sleuths. And I've got to say, this has been one of my favorite things out of the whole year. She's a second year student. She's just about to go into the third year in October when she finishes, but I absolutely love these cards, and I really do think that we'll find a place for her to market these cards. So we'll find a packaging company or maybe a publisher even who might take these on board. They're just gorgeous things, and that's another thing with the course. We do very well with publishing outcomes, both on the degree and on the MA, because one of the things, us all being professional illustrators, we are very keen that the course is professional and that we help make you into professional illustrators who can hopefully earn a living at this. So publish books and things like those cards that we could maybe market and get those into the shops. That's always something that we try hard to do with projects that turn out as well as that one. Some book jackets there. That's an etching again, current student this year. That's the last one. So let me just quit that. There you go. Right, so that's kind of more or less it there. Any questions?
Yeah. So what kind of projects do you do? Like, what are they like?
Well, again, we do a whole load of different projects. In the first year, they're quite structured. So usually in the first year, which is led by Louise Weir, we have other tutors who come in who teach on that. And again, we use mainly specialists. So when you do a rotation in animation, we have a specialist animator. When you do a rotation in print, we have a specialist printmaker. But the projects in the first year are quite structured. So Louise might ask you for a set of 3 etchings or a set of 3 linos. It depends what you're doing, but it's quite structured. In the second year, the projects are much more open-ended. So usually you would have maybe a theme or a subject to deal with. So for example, one of the second year projects this year was about pairs of people that go together, like Burgess and McLean, who were famous spy traitors and defectors in the 1950s, or Antony and Cleopatra, or Laura and Hardy. The students all had a different pair, and it was up to them what they did with that. Obviously, we helped them with the tutoring, but if they had been in the first year interested in print, then they might have produced a set of prints that said something about Antony and Cleopatra, if that was their pair. If they hadn't, if they hadn't enjoyed print and they'd enjoyed animation, they might have made a small film or a set of drawings. So that's kind of how it works. And then in the third year, again, the third year is really more concerned with getting a portfolio together. And also in the third year, we do quite a lot of live competitions. So like the Folio, like the Macmillan Children's Book Prize. We also do that in the second year. We're nearly always shortlisted for that one too. The Comic-a-Graphic Award. Again, students are encouraged to choose a live competition that suits them. So if they're particularly interested in graphic novels, then they would probably choose the Jonathan Cape Graphica competition. If they're particularly interested in children's books, they might choose the Macmillan.
Okay, so that sounds really good.
Any more questions?
Um, how much do the trips cost?
Yes, well, obviously, again, one of the things in the current climate is obviously that kind of thing is all a bit in the air. But we always go up until this year, and fingers crossed, we might be okay by December. We usually go in the first week of December on the trip, and we go to a whole load of different places. Over the years, we've been to New York, Antwerp, Madrid, Vienna. We always go somewhere. Last year we went to Barcelona, but we always go somewhere. And obviously one of the things with that is keeping it as cheap as we can. So I think when we went last year, the trip came to around 190, 200 pounds.
Okay, yeah.
We try wherever possible to keep it under 200 wherever we go. The one exception to that was New York. And that was a little bit more than that, as you can imagine, because it's such a long flight.
Yeah.
But the thing with New York, we usually, the way it works is we give the students two choices. They can go here or they can go there. And then the one that gets the most votes and we put the price in as well. So the one that gets the most votes is usually the one we pick. And when we had the New York year, the choice was New York or Lisbon in Portugal, which is a fabulous city. But I think the vote between those two, even though New York was double the price of Lisbon, the vote was, I think, 98% for New York and 2% Lisbon. So we went to New York and it was wonderful. Had a marvelous time.
Yeah, all right. Sounds great.
Anything else I can answer for you?
One more thing, I think. How likely is it that we be starting this year? Do you know?
Yeah, I thought you would ask that, and were I you, I would have asked that too. That's a very difficult question for me to answer, because clearly it will depend totally on what happens, whether we might have a second wave, whether we have managed to go back in October at all. All of those things are in there. So I can't say whether we will be back or not. What I can say is I hope we will. All the staff are very eager to be back at Middlesex. There are a number of ways we could go back. Because if the social distancing is still an issue, then it might be that we can't all go back on the same day. So at the moment in the illustration studio, as you saw in the film, we have all the students in together. First year, second year, third year, they're all in together. But it might possibly be that if we do go back, we might have to have first years one day, second years another day, third, just to enable the social distancing part. What I can say is we have been in lockdown now for, 6-7 weeks, something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that was a bit of a shock, because obviously when that happened, we didn't know, we didn't have much notice that was going to happen, but we have actually managed to keep the course going online using programs like Zoom.us, and the students upload their work. We have meetings. I usually look after the second and third year. So with the second year, I'm seeing them, all of them, twice a week, on the Tuesday and on the Thursday, which is their days. The third years I share with Nancy, but I see those as well. So, we've managed to keep the course as near as we can, but I think we are all hoping we are going to be back at some point next year. The only thing I can say with that, Jaden, is that I think all of the universities would be in the same boat with that one. If we're allowed to go back, we probably would.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a bit of a tricky situation, but yeah, I understand that.
It is a tricky situation. I mean, half of it is the not knowing, and half of it is, we, even if we didn't go back on the October when we usually do, you know, one doesn't know if that might be for a month or for 3 months. You know, it might be that we then went back in November in some way, or we might go back in January, or we might be back in October. It's impossible to second guess it. All I can say is, you know, if we're allowed to go back, we would try and find some way of making that work. Because one of the big things of Middlesex is the facilities. So, you know, it's a shame not to have the print studios and the, you know, the suites that are there.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. That was really interesting. Thanks, Martin.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, like I said, any questions, you can contact us through the website if you don't have anything at the moment. And yeah, thanks again, Martin, for a great talk.
Pleasure. Thank you, Chris.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you
both. Thank you both, Chris's. Bye bye.
Thanks, guys. All the best.
Bye.
Bye bye.